second day, Friday. We are starting with Chairman's Professor Dr. Muharrem Ziljic, please welcome, Mohammed Tatari, and Professor Dr. Halal Čakovica, please. Okay, Mohammed Tatari, please. Please change. Okay. First presentation will have Professor Dr. Muharrem Ziljic, and he will talk about integrative medicine and halal approach to nutrition. Professor, please welcome.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning to everybody, participants, and I hope you enjoyed yesterday ceremony opening and the first session. Now maybe it will be sunny Sarajevo and we continue to our work. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizing committee, especially Professor Jašić, for invitation for this great congress with very, very actual topic. So I'm going to talk about integrative medicine and nutrition, but special halal approach to nutrition. So I will start with our aim of this presentation. First of all, I'd like to define integrative medicine as an academic and practical discipline as principles. That relation to conventional medicine and the reason for the great popularity and application, and to assess the role of halal food and halal nutrition in maintaining health and treating disease in the practice of integrative medicine. What is this really integrative medicine? Sometimes many people make mistake. That means that the same thing that alternative and complementary medicine. Integrative medicine is where some combine conventional medicine and complementary and alternative medicine practice come to provide personalized and comprehensive care that improve overall health and well-being. This approach is based on scientific evidence of effectiveness and safety. It aims to tailor treatment to individual needs and preferences. By integrating the best practice of both world, integrative medicine offers a holistic approach to healthcare. So it's really very based in our knowledge to say integrative medicine combine the best thing, best practice from modern medicine and alternative and complementary medicine, but with evidence base. The principle integrative medicine, the best explain what is practice of integrative medicine. First, the most important factor for good practice is partnership between patient and practitioner in the healing process. Appropriate use of conventional and alternative methods to facilitate the body's innate healing response. Consideration of all factors that influence health, wellness and disease, including mind, spirit and community, as well as the body. A philosophy that neither reject conventional medicine, not accept alternative therapy uncritically. This is next very important principle of integrative medicine. One of it is use of natural, effective, and less invasive intervention whenever possible, and use the broad concept of promotion of health in the prevention of illness as well as the treatment of disease. Of course, it's necessary to training practitioners to be model of health and healing committed to the process of self-exploration and self-development. This is one of the official algorithm of integrative medicine practice. And as you see, nutrition takes a very big part of integrative medicine practice. So, in this field, there is a natural product and there is some element of mind and body practice, especially mindful eating. Integrative medicine is not new discipline. Integrative medicine is old as human civilization. So, this is father of medicine, Hippocrates. He said 460 BC that our food should be our medicine and our medicine should be our food. And said, so the body must be treated as whole and not just a series of parts. Hippocrates believed in nature healing process of best, good diet, fresh air, and hygiene. When we see this slide, I think we can see it's some slide is modern integrative medicine. In our practice, simply we can say, conventional medicine treats disease, only disease, usually but pharmacological therapy. But integrative medicine with halal food approach treat in the first treat person and after that disease. So that with this approach we can achieve the complete recovery. We use some review methods and we assess many studies the other evidence to examine benefit of integrative halal food practice and integrative medicine into nutrition for better health. Especially many this study, cross-section study, show during epidemic era, COVID-19, that integrative medicine show much better result according to complication and some kind of long COVID. Halal approach to nutrition accept interaction of food with human genome. You can see that nutrigenomic and nutrigenetic effect of diet and impact opposite genotype on the onset of food-related disease. This is important when we work with personal medicine. I like to include in this presentation some aspect of halallopathy. Fortunately, we have some author of halallopathy, Professor Rashid, and I'm pleased to meet him in this morning. So if you use the halallopathy, we can completely use everything from integrative medicine, everything for halal food, and achieve complete recovery of our patient. This is algorithm from Professor Razir. You can see that we use everything in one axis. lifestyle modification, mind, lifestyle modification, and health. Integrate everything. If you integrate everything what is important for keeping health, we can see, finally, we can lead our patient to complete recovery. Regarding nutrition, the halal approach shares similarity with integrative medicine. Halal nutrition, besides religious beliefs, considers all aspects of person's existing when consuming permitted food. This approach can improve the function of immune system. So the results show really very some recommendations that we use in everyday practice. That result indicate the type of food, eating habits, and the relationship between the brain and the digestive tract play decisive role in health promotion and disease prevention, but also treating almost all disease. Mindful eating and knowledge about the values of permitted food as halal food, according to the concept of integrative medicine and halal-body, have advantage compared to the practice of conventional medicine. And finally, in conclusion, adopting a nutrition approach that aligns with the principles of integrative medicine and halal-body has the potential to enhance overall health of the population, improve prevention strategies for chronic non-infectious disease, and facilitate more effective medical treatment for our patients. Thank you for your attention. I expect any question.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee, especially to Professor Mithat Jezik for his kind invitation and every time being friendly to me. Well, when I am communicating with my colleagues in Istanbul, I said I'm abroad, but then I said no, I'm at home. So I feel like at home. I'm back to home, and I will be back to home when I go to Istanbul. Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I will try to talk about something sweet and healthy. Honeybees. Well, we know honeybees and we know honeybee products. We have the concept of apitherapy. Because I work in my university, in Medical University in Istanbul, in the Traditional and Complementary Medicine department, we have different methods teaching, including apitherapy. What is apitherapy? Apitherapy is, in short, we can say the use of bees and bee products for health purposes. Honeybees, well, mentioned in the Quran and Hadith, so we are familiar, all Muslims know about the honeybees, and they have a special respect to honeybees, as we all know. There is an ayat in the Quran. In the Quran, honey is mentioned in Surah Al-Nahl, and your Lord inspired to the bee, take for yourself among the mountains, houses, and among the trees, in that which they construct, then eat from all the fruits and follow the ways of your Lord laid down for you. There emerges from their bellies a drink varying in colors, in which there is healing for people. Indeed, that is a sign for a people who give thought. Well, when I was studying in China in 2008 and 2007 and 8, apitherapy, I had a professor who is a well-known professor in apitherapy, because I and my wife, we studied apitherapy for a long time, but then we said that no, we need to find now ustas. And we searched and we found out there was a professor in China, Professor Fang Zhu, and we studied with him. And before we left, I wanted to give him a gift, and it was a calligraphy of that ayat. And he said, "What is this?" I said, "This is from our holy book. It says honey has shifa." He said, "Oh, I know that ayat, but I thought it's not just honey." I said, "It's not just honey?" He said, "I thought this ayat is not only covering honey, but also the other products." And I checked and I realized that it was not mentioned the word honey. It was not saying asal. It was saying, as you see, from their bellies, a drink. So drink, what kind of drink? So there are other products coming from the honeybees, and it was interesting to get a tafsir from a Chinese professor who was not Muslim at that time, at least I should say, because in the last visit in China, he was about 85 years old, and he said he would like to be Muslim, and he made the Shahada. So it was very nice to have that information from him. So you can see some translations of the Quran. It just says honey, but there are some translations which is saying other liquids, let's say sharbat. Well, I am not a theologian. I am not. I had to stop on the limit. As a medical doctor, I would like to talk about medical issues, but if I make any mistake, please correct me in the issues of religion. Well, it is also mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, make use of the two remedies. What are these two remedies? Honey and the Quran itself. And honey is a remedy for every illness, and the Quran is a remedy for all illnesses of the mind. Therefore, I recommend to you both remedies, the Quran and honey, according to some narrations. Well, therefore, honey is very special, and killing bees is not permissible. Classical jurists have debated the ruling on killing honeybees arbitrarily or out of necessity, and they have stated anonymously that killing honeybees arbitrarily is not permissible based on the hadith that says don't kill the bees. However, bees are collapsing. Since the year 2000, we know that the number of honeybees are decreasing. This is called colony collapse disorder, and multiple factors contribute to bee decline, including habitat loss, pesticide use, climate change, and other reasons. So, if we are not allowed to kill the bees, are we not responsible to save the bees as well? So, there are many factors of this problem, but we know that bees are very important for us because of the, especially, not only just because of honey, but because of the pollination. And when we study, we see that it is estimated that about 1/3 of food crops humans consume rely on pollinators like bees. 1/3. So imagine what we eat, what we have in the kitchen, and if there are no bees, it's a big difficulty. Not only the food, but also the cotton. So pollination is very essential for us. That's why there is a statement that is, some say it is Einstein said it, if the bees disappear, we can survive just 4 years, they say. Well, coming back to the apitherapy issue, apitherapy is defined as the use of bees and bee products for health purposes. But which bees? There are many different kinds of bees. So the bees that we told in apitherapy is, as you see, not this one, not this one, not this one, yes, honeybee is this one and this one, so it can be used in apitherapy. So we call it Apis mellifera. That's why using honeybees is called apitherapy. So you see again our nice honeybees. Yes. Well, just to produce, let's say about half kilograms of honey, more than 10,000 bees needs to travel around the world distance 3 times or 4 times. And they have to visit about 8 million flowers. So it's a big work. And just one bee can produce in her lifetime just about 1/10 of the teaspoon amount of honey. So we shouldn't waste it. Well, there are some videos that if I had time I would like to show, but there is very limited time, and there are more than one bee product. So we know all honey, but why, by the way, honey is produced? Why the bees produce honey? Because in the summer they can find flowers and they can take nectar and pollen, but in the winter there is not flowers, so they take the nectar and convert it into honey. Sorry. So they take nectar and convert to honey so that it can have a longer, let's say, shelf life, so that it can survive longer. Even we find honey from the pyramids, still it can be consumed. So when the nectar is converted to honey, it can survive for a longer time. There's beeswax, there's bee pollen, well, the pollen of the flowers. The honey bees, they collect the bee pollen and what do they do with it? They make bread. Like we do bread, they collect the bee pollen and they mix it with the nectar and honey, a little bit fermentation, and then just similar to how we produce bread, so they produce bee bread. There is royal jelly, another product. They feed the baby bees, let's say the larvas, with it for a couple of days, and the queen bee, all her life, she consumes royal jelly. So royal jelly is a secretion of the honeybees. It sounds like milk because they feed the babies, but the royal jelly is also used by the queen bee, which lives much longer than the other bees because of consuming that royal jelly. How much longer do you think? Normal bees survive about 2 months, and queen bee continues to use royal jelly, and she lives about 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So can you imagine 2 months and 5 years? So royal jelly is very important for the bees, especially for the queen bee. And there is another product called propolis. What is propolis? Well, we said bees collect nectar and produce honey. They collect bee pollen, and then they produce bee bread, and they produce plant resins, and they produce propolis. Why? Because if there are some cracks in the beehive, they want to close the holes for isolation. So how can they do this? They collect the resins and they make propolis and they close the holes. And there is another product called bee venom. Bee venom is also used in apitherapy, and today it is also available in bee venom solution kits as injection forms. So these honeybee products are commonly used especially for the treatment of wound, respiratory system problems and digestive system problems when we talk about honey itself. But there are other honey products, as we mentioned, and they have antioxidant, antimicrobial and immune modulatory effects of apitherapy products have been demonstrated by many scientific studies. That's why it can be used in integrative medicine, as the professor mentioned, in the preventive medicine scope especially. And there are hundreds of literature about these effects of antioxidant, antibacterial and potential of bee products hundreds of them are available, and we are also trying to do some projects in Turkey to increase the number of the clinical studies. Well, is honey halal? Coming back to our issue of halal status, yes, honey is the most popular bee product and has been... Sorry? Okay, thank you. Well, honey is halal. Product has been widely consumed in Islamic world, and it is well established. You can say, how about the other products? Well, the other products should be classified as plant-derived products and animal origin products. And when we look at the fatwas about this, there are different issues. It was debated, but at least we can say the ulama council in Indonesia, they gave fatwa that propolis, bee pollen, royal jelly, beeswax, honeycomb, and apitoxin are halal. Well, they are halal in the pure form, maybe, but how about the methods used? When we look at the methods, there are some issues on debate. For example, the problem of propolis solubility in alcohol. When you buy propolis in the market, you will see most of the propolis are in alcohol extraction. So, in this point, the issue comes, is it allowed to use such a product? So, there are some existing fatwas you see here from different boards and individuals, and it is written how they explained it. In general, they said it is permissible to use ethanol in foods with some conditions that I think I don't have to get into the details of these conditions, because it is common for other supplements as well. There's one more issue that can be discussed. It's recently started getting popular, apparently. It's using the larvas of the male bees for some urological larvas of the bees. Well, this is another issue to be discussed, but some jurists do not consider it permissible to consume such insect larvas, but some said if there is a health benefit proven, which is not yet, it can be used. So we have to study about that issue as well. Maliki scholars, they said it is permissible to eat such insects with some conditions, but you see here the contemporary period fatwas, usually they say eating them is not allowed. Well, royal jelly is also discussed, and similar issue, it is on debate, but if we can show it is good for health, then the fatwas will change. Issue of the permissibility of bee venom, it's an issue that has not been extensively discussed, but fatwa from Indonesia says yes, it can be used. Well, there are some issues. Is there any toxic honey? If yes, would it be halal? That's another subject to discuss, because in Turkey we have rhododendron honey, which is toxic. And is consuming asphalt halal? What is this? Is it about apitherapy? Yes, it is, because bees, I said, they collect resins to make propolis, but if they don't find resins, they can go and just collect something similar, for example, even asphalt. So is asphalt halal? Well, such questions to be continued. Thank you very much for attendance, and be with double E, happy. For this presentation, some colleagues helped. Merve Özaykal is from the theology department. I certainly needed her help. And Ayten Güner is a medical doctor, and she is my wife here. Rümeysa is my assistant in the university, and she is a nutritionist. And myself, I thank you very much, and I hope we will meet soon again.
Thank you very much for your very lecture. Your lecture really is actually prevention and treating disease. So your presentation can be some educational material for everybody who work in practice. I have only one question. You note there are some words from our perfect Muhammad that say two factors, mind and honey. I think it's really very good connection and some things that connect all organs in organism, like halal body. How you can explain how we can improve result of healing with honey, some body, mind, some holistic approach. That means trust and confidence between practitioner and patient. Did you understand?
Can you repeat the last sentence?
What do you think? Can we improve if you use this sentence? This mind is very important. Trust and confidence between practitioner and doctor and patient. That we improve answer of our immune response.
Yes, I certainly agree, Professor. And we should work on this. We say holistic approach, as you know, body, mind, and soul. So we should approach to the patient from all perspectives, not only physical body, but we have mental and spiritual perspectives. And as you said, if we approach from that perspective, patients and doctors will have a better communicate, which certainly will improve the health issues. I think so. Thank you very much for that point.
Any question? We will continue.
Thank you.
Next.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Let me say it in short words. Halal compliance in a nutshell. We don't need more standards. Actually, we do need more decency. My presentation is outlining the importance of integrity as a means to build confidence among all interested parties of the global halal ecosystem and among the global and local societies. And it offers a global halal strategy how this could be achieved. Moreover, it highlights the weaknesses of the current global halal compliance system and tries to give inputs on how the system integrity can be improved and strengthened. Last but not least, the conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, halal is primarily an amana, an entrusted responsibility, and integrity is a path to deliver it to the wider public. Integrity, which is based on ethical values and which is an integral Dini requirement, is key to build confidence. Hence, it provides the ability to create true added value for our societies. Confidence through integrity ensures the sustainability and recognition of the ethical halal tayyib concept in the world and allows global halal trade to flourish to the benefit of all stakeholders and humanity at large. Ladies and gentlemen, the success factor of the global halal ecosystem is very much depending on the ability and degree to which confidence can be conveyed in its halal products and services. We have to understand very well and to realize that confidence is the actual currency of the halal market. The higher the confidence is, the more cooperation, tremendous opportunities, and wealth can be created. Even the SMIIC and the ISO standards as well are identifying the conveyance of confidence as being the key objective. So in the standards, the key objectives is to convey confidence among all interested parties. So this is very important here. With other words, the value of certification, when we talk about certification, is generated by the degree of confidence that can be established among all the interested parties. We derive a clear mission from this, building confidence by ensuring integrity in the system, aiming to foster public trust in halal products and services. To be effective in this mission, a comprehensive global halal strategy shall be initiated, aiming to foster confidence among all the stakeholders in the global chain, and the global halal strategy ensures system integrity through a systematic approach while applying ethical values in form of a halal code of conduct. So we have over quality, compliance, competence, and you reach the excellence over the good governance, good practice, and you produce in the system good products and good services in a continuous way. You make it effective. So the integration of this plus the code of conduct plus the code of ethics together produces a lot of good products and services. This ethical approach is actually based on universal values. It comes from Muslims, from the Quran and Sunnah, and the norms and reference from Islam. But in Christianity or in Judaism or even the Buddhists or the Hindus or also the atheists may derive the ethical values from the humanism. So the ethical values are for us all a common base to handle also this halal tayyib system. Actually, this system, the systematic approach plus the ethical approach is a halal tayyib system. When we talk about quality, we talk about ihsan. Inna Allah ya'muru bil 'adl wal ihsan. Ihsan is a commandment of Allah to apply quality on all things. Compliance, Sharia is compliance. Or technical compliance, if you have food safety, it's also Sharia. Sharia is demanding healthy and food safety products and so on, so we have to apply this. Also, competence, we apply competence because we want to deliver the amana to the public, to the people. So we need knowledge, we need competence, we need skills to transfer the amana to the public. And why I'm saying this has a little bit magic also. I mean, when we deal in this ethical way, we open the hearts and minds of the people because they see the benefit out of the system. There will be good products through best practices. So when we go to the companies, we don't talk firsthand about the requirements of the halal system. We talk about the ethical values and the ethical halal tayyib system before we even talk about the requirements. And the people then understand that it is something, halal is something connected to ethical values, so they adapt the system very easily, and they want this halal. They said to me, for example, Mr. Tatari, before we wanted only to comply to your requirements, but now we want the halal system because it's ethical. So, through this good practices, best practices, and good governance and good products and so on, we can create a lot of confidence among all people. Not only among Muslims, among all people. And we will create or establish cooperation also with all people, with among the governments, among the companies, among the people, so in social level. And when cooperation, a trustable and sustainable cooperation is established, we can together work on added values, on adding values to the societies, not only to our companies and not only to our families, but also to the societies. We add the value, we produce work, new jobs, we produce innovations, we produce a lot of tremendous opportunities for the society, for the development of the society. We may get recognition from the societies because we are, in this way we can, in a systematic way, benefit our societies. So also we may get also recognition from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we are benefiting the people, and Allah loves the ones who are benefiting the people. So He may put the barakah in a continuous way in the system, and to make the halal tayyib system or the halal ecosystem or the halal tayyib system very successful, even more successful. So we have a big chance to introduce our these systems into the halal economy or halal practice, to let many people get participated in this in a good and in a convinced way. By the way, Rasulullah sallam, by the way, our deen is aqidah, sharia, and akhlaq. Akhlaq is integrity, is decency. These three makes our deen, not only aqidah and sharia. So, what Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Mulk, الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْغَفُورُ. That means, the deeper sense from this system is, Allah created actually the death and the life to test the people on the good deeds, on their good deeds, and also on their good practice. So we have here a system, an approach, an offer to implement the halal tayyib system in all our organizations, institutions, and companies which are in the service of the public and private sector. To work all together in this manner, on a qualitative way, in a way of ethics, on the goals to reach social recognition, to be a valuable partner in the society, the global society, to work on the current and future challenges of our societies. I think this is very, very important. We derive a mission and a vision out of this. The greater objective is to establish a global Muslim community of excellence that consistently delivers added value to the societies. We can define this as a vision. And the mission is to consistently actually deliver the added value. This will enhance confidence in the halal tayyib concept, the halal compliance sector, the halal ecosystem, and the global Muslim community. Talking about the global halal compliance system, having a look into this in a closer way, we find a multi-level assurance system which consists of standardization, accreditation, and certification bodies, as well as industries who are aiming to assure halal integrity of product and services for the consumers and all other interested parties. Always aiming to provide good and trustable products for the consumers and also for the trade in the business. The system has reached a pretty good consensus by transforming norms into halal standards and is targeting global uniformity. The system is based on conformity assessment against standards, but is unfortunately not yet effective enough in identifying corruption and many other frauds. On the halal certification bodies level, we observe two different kinds of service providers. The ones with a high integrity and commitment to the amana, who follow strong compliance to assure proper implementation of halal requirements, versus the bodies who are following a purely commercial approach, who are understanding accreditation and recognition letters only as a business facilitator. These bodies are mostly offering faster, easier and cheaper certification, which results in superficial processing of halal certification, reduction of requirements, and un-Islamic and unethical competition. The crude commercial approach opens ways of bribery and corruption and leads to the integrity of the global halal assurance system being undermined and trust in the halal mark and in the halal ecosystem being tarnished and compromised. To foster public trust and transparency, we ask the OIC member states to consolidate accreditation to one system and to actively and credibly combat corruption in the halal sector. A global halal corruption index should be established. This system, the corruption system, may note about the corruption or the frauds that is happening in the compliance sector and let then the parties increase in the level. At a certain level, this parties should be, removed from the compliance system because they have not reached their mission to build trust among the system. So, my conclusion. First, a paradigm shift shall be performed to facilitate a successful halal ecosystem by gaining confidence through integrity. Secondly, the International Islamic Fiqh Academy in Jeddah, which is associated to the OIC, should issue two directives to request Muslim institutions, organizations, and companies of the public and private sector to implement, first, a halal code of conduct, and secondly, a quality system. We have already asked the Majma' al-Fiqh al-Islami to implement or to issue these directives. Third, a unified global halal strategy should be established to work effectively on the common goals to reach excellence and global recognition in a common mode. Establishment of halal leadership excellence centers. Global halal leadership excellence centers should be established, recognizing that leadership is crucial for the success of the global halal strategy. We need global halal leadership excellence centers because the leadership is key. They have to understand what is amana, what is halal haram, what is compliance, what is quality, what is corruption, what is, and so on and so on, to train them and to certify them even to be players in this global trust system. Of course, additionally, we have a lot of techniques to be applied, and impressively, Dr. Vinay Dahlan showed us the excellence in the halal system by this systematic approach also. I'm finished. Fifth, establishment of a global halal, of the global corruption index system Halal is an amana and integrity is the path to ensure its delivery to the wider public. Corruption is haram and must be eradicated from the halal compliance sector and the halal ecosystem. Therefore, a global corruption index should be established. 6. Establishment of a permanent global halal integrity forum. A permanent global halal integrity forum should be established to provide a platform for various stakeholders from the public and private sectors, including academia, industry, compliance sectors, consumer protection, governments, etc. To exchange ideas and promote integrity in the halal chain. It is of paramount importance to increase the linkage between transparency and the public-private cooperation to disseminate best practices and massive investments in the halal integrity infrastructure. 7th, establishment of a global halal watch. To ensure transparency and prevent fraud, a global halal watch should be established to monitor, oversee compliance within the halal compliance sector and the halal ecosystem from an independent perspective. Last but not least, further strong efforts should be made to bring halal in the same levels of compliance in the mainstream segment in terms of transparency and trust. Let us work together, inshallah, for the betterment of our societies, and Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning everyone. My name is Elma Hrustemović and today I have the honor to present you a presentation entitled Halal Food in the Context of Modern Life on behalf of my mentor, respected Professor Faruk Čakovica. In this presentation I will focus on halal food, the concept of halal and the motivation of modern people to consume halal food. Therefore, we will give you some definitions and show how halal food can be a motive for visiting certain tourist destinations and developing the economy of the country. The presentation consists in an introduction, literature review, and conclusion. The modern world motivation to consume halal food can stem from the fact that halal food, apart from being considered obligatory in the Islamic world, is food that is healthy and meets the nutritional criteria of modern people. The World Health Organization reports that 600 million people around the world suffer from foodborne illnesses annually, hampering international tourism and the economy. In terms of health, halal food does not question the health stats of consumers. The consumption of halal food also has a sociological aspect. Based on research, it was noted that in a developing European country, there are restaurants that offer gastronomic specialties of halal origin. Many people find the motivation for a tourist trip in the consumption of food, which in the culinary sense is a reflection of the religious culture and traditional ambience of the country they are traveling to. Halal is an Arabic word meaning permitted. Halal provisions are defined by Sharia law. The concept of halal food production is defined by halal standards. The production and processing process largely depends on whether food and drinks are allowed for consumption by the Muslim population, which is why the production chains of halal products must have a halal certificate. The concept of haram is also defined by Islamic Sharia law, and haram is anything that is forbidden in the Muslim world. Muslims are forbidden to consume the food which in the processes of production and processing does not comply with Sharia law, and haram is anything that is forbidden in the Muslim world. Muslims are forbidden to consume the food which in the processes of production and processing does not comply with Sharia law. Any animal that is not slaughtered in accordance with the Sharia law is haram. Halal food must not be in contact with haram food during storage. There are foods and drinks that are completely prohibited for consumption in the Muslim world, namely carrion, blood, and products prepared from blood, pork, meat from carnivores, mules and donkeys, crocodiles, reptiles, snakes, poisons, dangerous sea animals, canyons animals, birds of prey, as well as the consumption of alcoholic drinks, wine, and ethyl alcohol. Hippocrates declared, "We are what we eat," 2000 years ago, and this is clearly stated in the Muslim religious book, the Quran. Everything that we put into our body through food builds and changes us, and our strength and health depend on what we have taken in. Scientists discovered that all diseases originate from the digestive tract 20 years ago, which means that the Quran is ahead of science. In the intensive breeding of halal allowed animals, in order not to make a mistake in choosing an animal for food production, it is advisable to follow religiously educated and professional people who will supervise the breeders or suppliers of animals that are further transported to slaughterhouses. 1 year supervision is carried out by organizations for halal certification. During transportation, primary processing and storage of halal meat, care must be taken that this process do not affect the sanitary quality of the meat. Sanitation of trucks and transport cages is carried out under the supervision of officials of the Organization for Halal Certification. It is also taken into account which detergents and disinfectants are used. Halal standards in the production and processing of halal food follow the modern HACCP concept of veterinary sanitary control, which includes good manufacturing practice and good hygienic practice. All packages must have the halal logo next to the name, address of the manufacturer, and the veterinary control number. During storage, the halal product must be separated from the non-halal product. Halal standards related to the slaughter process are mostly similar all over the world. Only the issue of standing the animal before slaughter is questionable and opinions are divided. A person performing halal slaughter must know halal standards and must be of the Islamic faith to understand the processes. After the animal is handed over to the slaughterhouse, it rests from some time at depot and is then brought to slaughter. The person performing the slaughter says Tasmiyah in the name of Allah and Takbir, Allah is the greatest. It is important to take care of the welfare of animals, to behave as humanely as possible, because this is prescribed by Islamic law. Slaughter must be quick, with a sharp sterile knife, and 2 large blood vessels must be cut. The bleeding process lasts about 1-3 minutes, and during this period, the meat must not be processed. During slaughter, it is forbidden to destroy the spinal cord of the animal. Considering the concern for animal welfare, it is considered that halal standards, in addition to regular traditional halal slaughter, should also include slaughter with standing of the animal, but in this process, the animal must not die. According to the current legislation of the European Union, halal slaughter without standing is allowed only in exceptional cases. The aim of this paper was to investigate the motivation for the consumption of halal food in society in order to present this food in a credible way in the context of modern life. The motivation of the Muslim world is reflected through Islamic law, and the motivation of the non-Muslim world is related to the health, sociological, and economic aspects of modern life. In a study of the motivation of non-Muslim tourists to consume halal, half of the respondents believe that consuming halal food is imperative when traveling. Through monitoring, it was noticed that companies in non-Muslim countries practice halal products, e.g. in Taiwan, because their business is focused on innovation and they see halal business as an opportunity for economic growth, not a threat. Monitoring data show that entrepreneurial marketing of halal food by small and large enterprises improves the financial results. The low motivation of part of non-Muslims to try halal food was a consequence of negative attitude towards halal food and the lack of awareness about the safety of halal food. The monitoring results show that the motivation to consume halal food among generations in Muslims stems from religious beliefs and increased awareness of the healthiness of halal food. Conclusion. Halal food in a comprehensive sense can promote Islamic culture and tradition and produce beautiful emotions, a sense of charity, satisfaction, and gratitude to the dear God. This achievement is a reflection of the religious culture and traditional environment of the time in which we live, work, and act. Due to these characteristics, halal food is gaining more and more universal value, which opens tables for it on all meridians and parallels. If we follow the fact that halal food is permitted food, it means that it is hygienically and healthy correct, that it does not contain biological and chemical toxins harmful to human health. It means that it is safe and that including all relevant aspects, it represents the food of modern life. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
I don't have anyone here on the stage, so I will announce another session. Just 1 minute. Invited lecturer, session is invited lecturer. I will ask Professor Dr. Muhammad Ali Al-Sheikh Weiss to be here as a chairman, and Professor Dr. Ante Lončarević, he is not here present. So I would ask Ali, can you have one more session to be chairman? Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Please, thank you. To help Mr. Muhammad, please, thank you. So our next presentation and first presentation is Dr. Muhammad Ali Al-Sheikh Weiss from Turkey. And his presentation is Halal Pharmaceutical Patients Concealing and Drug Information. Dr. Ali, please, the floor is yours.
Good hospitality from Bosnia people. My name is Muhammad Ali Sheikh. I am a pharmacist. I finished my PhD and master in clinical pharmacy from Malaysia, US and Malaysia. My PhD was related to the halal pharmaceutical. I will speak a little bit about it in this presentation, inshallah. I'm working in SMIIC from 5 years, and of course you have some information from my General Secretariat. Yesterday he spoke a little bit about SMIIC, and we are here to connect more with the halal certification bodies and with the experts to know more about SMIIC. I'm responsible for 3 committees, technical committees in SMIIC. The Technical Assistant for Halal Food Committee, Halal Cosmetic Committee, and the Halal Pharmaceutical Committee. So if you need anything from these 3 technical committees, please contact me, because SMIIC now is open to all stakeholders. You can send your suggestion, your comment, and also your feedback to our standards. I will speak a little bit. Yes. For the technical committee that I am responsible, we have some working group. This is the current project for this working group. For example, in TC1 working group 1, we are working in the porcine detection for porcine and ethanol detection in food and in cosmetics. We will have training for porcine detection this year. We have one new project for halal flight meal, one new project for halal packaging, food packaging, and for biotechnology. We have some experts here joining our working group, and inshallah more will join our expert pool group. Mr. Ihsan yesterday spoke about our expert pool group, and you will know more about this expert pool, inshallah. In technical committee for cosmetic, we have 2 new projects for doubtful ingredients in halal cosmetics and in halal packaging.
and halal claims for cosmetics. And for halal pharmaceutical, we have 3 technical working groups. The current project is biopharmaceutical and vaccine, and we have another project for Islamic code for non-halal medicine, how to deal with it in the hospital. So this is our current project in SMIIC. Today I'll speak a little bit about patient counseling and drug information in halal pharmaceuticals. Just to simplify the topic, I will tell you some story happened with me before I came here. I have one friend he has his son finish his high school, and he went to study, and he told me that his mother wanted him to become engineer, and my friend advised me to let the son to go to medicine school, and I'm thinking that pharmacy is good because my son is not that hardworking. So tell me more about pharmacy. So maybe we will let the child go to the pharmacy school. Okay, this is a difficult question because usually when you ask some people, you have to explain to them this one. Since his mother, since he wanted him to become doctor, I told him actually long time ago, doctor and pharmacist was the same person from the old history. In the old history, doctor prepared the medicine. But when we come to the Islamic era, and at 753, at the time of Khalifa al-Ma'mun, the first, pharmaceutical regulation happened in Baghdad. They count how many pharmacies there, and they register them, and they make the first control for the pharmacist who is working in the shop at that time. At that time, they find 53 pharmacies in Baghdad in this year, okay? And from that time, pharmacy become a different field than medicine. And they focus more in the preparation of the medicine. You can see in this logo, in this certificate, this is the Royal Pharmaceutical logo of Britain, the old logo. On the right-hand side, you can find Galenos, the famous one from the Greek history, from Roman time. And the other one is Avicenna, Ibn Sina. And this logo means that we are Britain people take the history from this people. Okay, I told my friend that in pharmacy you have many choices for your son to work. He can work in different places, in the community, in the hospitals, in the factory, in the regulatory affairs issues, all of these options. In factory, he will be responsible for manufacturing. In marketing, you know, that's these people who go to represent the hospital, the pharmaceutical companies, and they go to the doctor. This is very good salary when to work. Academia, it's not good salary, but you do research, you do some innovation, like usual. Okay. He can work in clinical trials in research in new medicine. This is good field with good income in some countries. He can work in regulation. Every country has regulator bodies for pharmaceuticals, and also in halal regulators sometimes. In the community pharmacy, he works directly with the patient, sell the medicine, and do patient counseling. I will tell you now about patient counseling. And in the hospital, he will do more about preparing the medicine for the hospital inpatient inside. So my friend asked me, so what's your job? I told him that I am a clinical pharmacist. So what is clinical pharmacist? Clinical pharmacist is something between community pharmacy plus hospital pharmacy. You do mix both of them, and you do special training on the hospital. So we have the normal pharmacy school, 4 years or 5 years. The PharmD or clinical pharmacy, they study 6 years. They go to the hospital 2 more years. And they go to the hospital and do more practice on the patient. In some countries, like USA for example, the doctor see the patient and the pharmacist write the prescription. So not the doctor write the prescription, the pharmacist write the prescription, because the pharmacists know more about the drug interaction, especially for chronic disease. So you go to heart doctor, you are old patient, the doctor will say this patient have kidney disease, they have diabetes, they have this one. Go to the pharmacist, he will write the medicine for you because he trained for these things. Okay, he asked me, okay, this is clinical pharmacist, but you are not working in the hospital, so what's your job? I told him that I am specialized in drug information. My PhD was in drug information actually. And drug information is to find information about medicine. So usually when we go to normal pharmacy, you do patient counseling. Patient counseling that you answer, even orally or written way, to the patient, and you give them some direction how to use, modification in their life, some answers for their question about if this one will interact with another drug, their diet and lifestyle. For example, we teach our students in the last 2 years how to do patient counseling for different types of people. The first thing, you go to any pharmacy, they will ask you, they will see if someone pregnant, breastfeeding, they have allergy, and they will ask him if he has some food or some other drugs, so they calculate the drug interaction. All of these things, we call it patient counseling. So he told me, what's the relation between drug information and halal? I told him, this is the point that why I study halal in my PhD. In drug information, people come and ask you about dose and uses and interaction, but some people now start to ask you about the halal origin of the food. And this sector in drug information and in patient counseling, no one covered it until now. If you go to the pharmacy, okay, some people have special awareness, some awareness about halal pharmaceutical. They will tell you that there is some medicine which come from non-halal sources. Okay, which medicine? Give me a list of this medicine. From where they come, is there an alternative? We don't have any information. Because no one covered it in the box. Because they are non-Muslim, they don't care if this medicine comes from this source or from this source. This is no problem for them, but for Muslims, we should care about this one. In the patient counseling and in the drug information, in the last 2 years, we teach our students more about how to use the dose for inhalation, because this is new challenge for our patients. We need to teach our students now about halal pharmaceutical. My friend told me again, this is okay, but you can search Google. And now people in the last 2 months, maybe they can say ChatGPT will send all pharmacists to the home. No need for pharmacists, no need for your information. And drug information, is nothing. I can ask Google. It's not that easy. And you cannot know how complicated it is to deal with the information of the pharmaceuticals. Let's speak about the drug information resources. We have different resources from where you can get the information. Google is 100% is not acceptable. Okay, and we need to look for the real sources like an expert. The primary sources is the journals and the conference proceedings, the patent, the clinical trials. This one we call it primary sources for the information. They can give you the updated information, and it's written by peer review process. You know the peer review, when you send the article to the journal, they edit and they come back. That's like what Professor Milhat do with our new journal. So this is the first source of information. Do we have halal pharmaceutical? Do we have halal journal until now? Yes, we have around 5 around the world, including our friend Bosnia here, new halal journal. Around the world there is 100,000 of journals. We need to evaluate them and to know which one is good, which one is not good. Because you have a lot of articles, you need to decide which one is good, which one is not good. This is come to our work in drug information. The secondary information resources. This is the first one. Secondary information resources is the abstract or indexing services. This is by money. Usually from your university you can get access to this abstract. The famous one is chemical abstract. I think all of you, the people who is working with chemistry, know about chemical abstract. Chemical abstract was the biggest book in the world with 285 volumes. But now it's all in the web base. We have the pharmaceutical abstract, food safety abstract. This is for nutrition and food for people who is working with halal. The food abstract is very good. We have biopsies. This is for biological, biotechnology, and zoology abstract. So in the abstract, the people organize the journal for you in topics, and it's easily for search as database. Do we have halal abstract? No. This is one of my dreams, to have halal abstract one day, inshallah. The tertiary resources is the textbook, the encyclopedias, which we have between our hand as pharmacists. The most important one is the pharmacopoeias. Pharmacopoeia is a set of monographs. In each pharmacopoeia you have 3,000 monographs, 4,000 monographs, like the famous one, United States Pharmacopoeia. It's around 4,000 monographs. British Pharmacopoeia. We have Chinese Pharmacopoeia, which is focused more in the Chinese medicine. We have different types other than the pharmacopoeia. We have Martindale. We call it extra pharmacopoeia. This is, it's organized not alphabetically. It's organized according to the system-based pharmacological action of the medicine. We have some encyclopedia for pharmaceutical excipients. If you need information about pharmaceutical excipients, you go to this book, Handbook of Pharmaceutical Excipients. We have some books strictly for drug interaction, another books for injectable, for herbal medicine. So in pharmacy, alhamdulillah, in each field, we have a special book, a special database for information, but no one about halal pharmaceutical alternatives. We need to search in these tertiary resources, take our information, and put it in the halal pharmaceutical people to let them know about it. Is this easy? No. We need to have a special trained clinical pharmacist or pharmacist. We train them to search for this information. Another important thing in the drug information is to evaluate the information. You will receive the information from different resources. Your job as a clinical pharmacist to evaluate it. We can evaluate from the special rules for clinical trials. We have statistic evaluation. When I see one article said that there is we do this research on 6 people and another article on 2,000 people, there is difference. I cannot make the conclusion same for 6 people and 2,000 people. We have the evidence-based medicine and we have the systemic review articles. Systemic review articles, for example, I go and study aspirin with epinephrine, for example, and their drug interaction. I see all articles in this issue, calculate them and do comparison between them and do my calculation and do my conclusion at the end. So it's not easy. Yes, this is the last one. This is different than the normal media site.
Analiza opasnosti označava moguće opasnosti povezane s hranom kao i načela kojom su ove opasnosti identificirane. Opasnosti mogu biti biološke, kemijske ili fizikalne. Drugo, određivanje kritičkih kontrolnih točaka u proizvodnom procesu. Postoji točke od polazne sirovine kroz proizvodni proces pa sve do faze isporuke krajnje. Primjeri takvih kontrolnih točaka su, na primjer, kuhanje, hlađenje, pakiranje i detekcija metala. Treće, u potpunosti uspostavljanje zaštitnih mjera u kritičnim granicama za svaku kontrolnu tačku. Na primjer, za kuhanje hrane kao kritičnu tačku možemo se uspostaviti minimalna temperatura kuhanja itd. Četvrto, uspostavljanje postupaka praćenja kritičnih kontrolnih tačaka. Peto, uspostavljanje korektivnih radnji koje trebaju biti poduzete kada je praćenje pokazalo da kritične tačke nisu osigurane na adekvatan način. Šesto, uspostavljanje postupaka kojim se potvrđuje da sustav ispravno funkcionira. I sedmo, uspostavljanje učinkovitog vođenja evidencije prema dokumentima HACCP sustava. Ovaj korak uključuje uspostavu zapisa o opasnosti i metodama za njihovu kontrolu. Da zaključim, svaka firma koja je već implementirala ISO i HACCP sustav prije će i bolje razumjeti halal standard. Usudim se kazati da bi to bili neki od uvjeta za uvođenje halal standarda. Oni su dodatna garancija i potpora halal standardu, kao što je halal standard dodatna vrijednost i kvaliteta ostalim standardima kvalitete. Najčešći razlozi implementacije sustava kvalitete su sama organizacija, transparentnost, depersonalizacija, siguran uspjeh u poslovanju i podizanje kvalitete rada te zadovoljstvo korisnika, kupca, džematlije, vjernika itd. I ove razloge menadžment halal kvalitete moraju uzeti u razmatranje pri donošenju svojih poslovnih odluka. Posebnosti halal standarda i halal kvalitete.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala sayyidil Mustafa wa ala alihi ahli sidqi wal wafa. First of all, I would like to congratulate and say thanks to the organizers that successfully gather us here in beautiful city, beautiful country, in beautiful event, and we can learn a lot from the expert, particularly the halal expertise. As I'm a junior here, facing with the professors and many experts here. Today I would like to share our study about comparative study of halal standard around the world. As we know that there are several halal standards. And there are differences in this halal standard that might generate confusion among the food manufacturers, particularly in the Western country where the Muslim population is not there. The company owned by non-Muslim, the employee are non-Muslim. Even they don't know what halal is. If we talk, this is halal standard, why it's different from one standard to another? Before I'm moving forward, I would like to tell you what is the content of my presentation. First, I would like to give you a brief definition about halal and the importance of halal and what is the standard, the differences between halal standard and another international standards. And then we are going to the comparative study that we will divide to several topics. The first is about the production plan and its cleaning process, its cleaning requirements, and also animal slaughtering, including stunning. And then we go to the ethanol or alcohol and also vinegar. And we'll talk a bit about insect and we'll end up with the conclusions. And when we think about the halal food, by simple definition, halal food is any kind of food that are permissible to be consumed by Muslims. This is the very basic definition. And the general principle is that anything, any kind of food is halal except those who are explicitly mentioned in Quran, Hadith, or other source of Ahkam al-Islam. So by thinking about the general principle, we can know that all the things that are mentioned is less abundance than what are mentioned. So for Muslims, there are no option to consume non-halal because the halal food is more than non-halal. And if we talk in practice, halal food comes originally from plant origin or seafood, which are not processed. So by its origin, they are halal. And then we also have halal food that needs requirements. There are two requirements that we are needed to be fulfilled to have a halal food. If we talk about the land animals, from all the standards, they are agreed if we talk about the species of the animals. This is the first requirement, is the species, and the second is the slaughtering process. The slaughtering process is kind of something that are debatable. There are some differences in the standard. That's why we will talk about it later. And also there are doubtful material or questionable material, which mainly processed raw material. Then we cannot identify what are the origin of this material, either plant origin or animal origins. And if we talk about haram materials, many people agree what kind of haram materials. And if you think about halal, why it's important, even in Western country where there are no Muslim there, they are talking about the economical potential benefits. Because the halal food market itself, if in 2021 is more than 1,200 billion US dollar, which is more than 15 times of the Tesla's revenue. We know that Tesla is a huge company with more than 120,000 employees. You can imagine how big is it. If you look at in Poland only, Poland where the Muslim population is very low, less than 1% of Muslim population in Poland, but they produce a lot of halal food. For what? For money. This is the ritual slaughtering in Poland, including halal. It's more than 40 slaughterhouses, more than 350,000 employees. And also, it's up to 1.7 billion USD annually in the revenue. If we talk about standard, basically standard is a set of requirements that have to be complied by a manufacturer that produce service or products. If they want to sell the product or service to a specific region or country. And if you talk about the halal food standard, basically also set of requirements that have to be fulfilled in order to produce a halal food. And in this study, we would like to compare several national and international standards. We'll go with SMIIC, UAE, GSO, Singapore standard, Malaysian standard, and also Indonesian standard. What is actually the issue of the standards? If we look at the other standards internationally, for example, ISO or Codex standard, there are only one standard that are regulated and implemented everywhere around the world. But if we talk about halal standard, there are gaps, there are limitations, and also differences between the standards. So there are no uniform standards. So if we, for example, requirement that required by one standard is not required by another standard. So we are going forward to the comparison of those standards. So at the first, we will talk about the requirement of the production plan and its cleaning process. There are several similarities, but also differences. If we focus first in the similarities, the halal product must be spared. Also the transformation of halal food production from non-halal production to halal, the cleaning process, general cleaning must be implemented. And also, if we talk about the chemical, the requirement, hygiene and food safety requirement is the most fundamental things that all the standard agrees about it. But other than that, if we talk about the halal sign or halal type, we're not talking about the halal logo, but this is the sign that must be tagged in the production plan. All the standard set as mandatory, but Indonesian standard is not mandatory to make halal sign in the food production plan. Because we know that in the production, some company or a company can produce halal and non-halal. Not at the same time, but the warehouse is the same. And then, talking about the cleaning of heavy najis or mughallada, most of the standard require to use soil to clean the heavy najis. But GSO standard and also Indonesian standard doesn't require to use soil. They can use all chemicals which can remove the properties of the najis. This is also very interesting. Our standard says that if we transform from non-halal production to halal production, it cannot come back to non-halal and halal again. But Indonesian standard allowed to use it as daily or regularly basis if cleaning. And also there is no pork use in this production line. And at the end, all the standard doesn't require those three requirements that required by Malaysian standard. The first is the pest control program must be implemented, and also the tools or elements of religious other than Muslim, for example, Jews, symbols or elements, or Christian is not allowed to be in the production plant. But this is not stipulated by the other standard. And also the Muslim praying rooms must be there according to Malaysian standard, which also not stipulated by the other standard. And then we'll go to the slaughtering. Basically, slaughtering is the action to kill the animal to have the meat. And I know that all of you know what are the requirements of the halal slaughtering, but there are also some differences among the standards. And then if you talk about the slaughtering, it's not far from the stunning process. Stunning is basically any act to make the animal unconscious, to make the slaughtering process efficient. For example, in poultry slaughterhouse, without stunning, maximum we can only do like 5,000 to 6,000 birds per hour. But with stunning, we can do up to 11,000 per hour. And if we talk about mechanical slaughtering, it is impossible to do mechanical slaughtering without stunning, because the birds are moving around. Even though several studies mention that stunning can eliminate or at least make the birds not suffering from the slaughtering, but this is very also debatable, that many researchers also says that stunning, without stunning, is the best process of slaughtering the animals. And then if we talk about slaughtering, all the standard, most of the standard also doesn't recommend stunning, except the standard mostly from the Southeast Asian country, from Malaysia, Indonesia, and also Singapore. And then interestingly, if we talk about the slaughtermen, most of the standards say that the slaughtering must be Muslim. But GSO standard state that the slaughtermen can be Jews or Christian. There's some differences there. And also, GSO standard, previously in 2015, GSO standard doesn't allow to use stunning in poultry. But they make an update in 2022 that is allowed to use stunning in bird slaughtering. And then, if you talk about the bleeding period, it shall be at least 3 minutes, which is required by most of the standard except GSO standard. Okay, we are moving forward to the ethanol requirements. If we talk about the ethanol, there are two types of ethanol. The first is synthetic ethanol, also fermentation ethanol. the synthetical ethanol can be accepted as halal in certain conditions. Mainly, we talk about the concentration of the ethanol in the food products. And the fermentation ethanol, it can be accepted if it is industrial ethanol, which is not common or is not dedicated for alcoholic beverages. If it is alcoholic beverages, regardless the concentration, it's forbidden. Here are the requirements from most of the standard except SMIIC. As we know that SMIIC doesn't now is undergoing process to publish the standard determination of the permissible ethanol content in the food products. We can see that beverages for Homer, regardless the concentration, although it's 0% or 0.001%, it's haram. And for other products, I will not go deeper into it because I believe that all you know about the concentration required by the standards. Then, if we talk about the ethanol, it's not far from the vinegar because vinegar is the continued fermentation from the alcohol. It's very interesting because vinegar, it can transform from halal to haram and then become halal again. As yesterday we learned about istihala. But there are also some differences from those standards. What kind of vinegar is acceptable? Basically, there are two requirements that the vinegar have to fulfill. The first is the source of the vinegar, and the second is the maximum ethanol concentration in the vinegar. If the vinegar comes from Homer, most of the standards say it's haram. But two standards, which is Malaysian standard, Indonesian standard, it can be accepted if the natural fermentation occurs. But Indonesian standard doesn't require the natural fermentation. And talking about the concentration, there are also differences of the concentration of the ethanol permissible in the ethanol. And then, the end we talk about the insects. What kind of insects are permissible to be consumed by Muslims? All the standard agrees that grasshoppers and also locusts is acceptable. And also they agree that insects that are forbidden to be killed, for example honeybees and also poisonous insects, are not allowed to be consumed by Muslims. If we can look at the tables, most of the Southeast Asian countries allow to use insects. For example, worm, land carp, and also ceramic acid. Like Malaysia, Indonesia, and also Singapore allow these things, but GSO standard, also SMIIC standard, doesn't allow. And at the end, I will conclude that there are a lot of demand in halal products, not only from Muslim country but also non-Muslim country, because there are a lot of potential economy. However, there are no single universal halal standard. There are a lot of differences that might generate confusions. Therefore, it's very good to have one uniformity of the halal standards. Inshallah, we will have it in the next future. Inshallah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's a great pleasure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a great pleasure for being here today with you. And thank you very much to the organizers, the Bosnia Bank International, and especially the Agency for Halal Quality here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. As we already said, the topic of my paper is increasing the competitive advantage of halal businesses, interdependence between internal and external processes. This paper was co-authored with my dear colleagues, Professor Shamsuddin Povic, who is not here today with us, but also Professor Enis Khan, which is today here, and Professor Harizovic, who is also here today with us. Why this paper? I will try to be short and keep it short and simple due to the limited time. And why this paper? The major goal of this paper is in fact to think, when we talk about halal, we often think about legal requirements. What is prohibited, what is permitted, what are the boundaries, what are the limits. But from an economic perspective, we know what are the legal requirements, but we have from an economic perspective to think how to be efficient, how to use the resources available in the best manner. So this is one of the major goals of this paper, in fact. And my colleagues and I were thinking about the fact how to increase competitiveness, how to increase the competitive advantage of an organization using the framework of halal.
In the classical studies as a halal, because it was by default assumed that things are halal, even within the Christian Judeo context. But then we have the modernity, and that's where we are looking from the emergence of the nation states. 150 years ago, many of the nations used to be one country, one nation, so there was no divisions. Now, with the fall of the Ottoman Empire, you have a dormancy of Islamic law for around 60-70 years. Now, after the re-emergence, what's happening that all these Muslim countries, they are trying to find identity, which means, what is your relations to the past? So, from your today's standpoint, and we have heard some of the religious authority even here, when they are looking into the answers of today in the past by endorsing what? Fundamentalism, traditionalism. We are trying to find the answer of the fiqh rulings, which are very much individual, which define the relation between the individuals, Ahmed and Muhammad or whatever. And today you are bringing into the corporate, which doesn't deal with the individuals. Halal agency is not Ahmed and Muhammad or Grand Mufti. It is many people involved. So now that's the change implications. And that's what creates ideological reasoning which we are struggling in today's modern context. So where we are standing in the modernity and the capitalism, which is a driving force even of the Bosnian and Herzegovina economy or any other economy in the world. Saudi Arabia is very much in self-capitalism. Now the question here that we are posing, is it involvement of Sharia scholars another way of creating Islamic Calvinism? I don't know how many of you are aware that Calvin is somebody who changed the Christian studies or Christianity from to the Protestant revolution, which actually involved and endorsed modernization. Now, is the new approach that we are trying to do to the Sharia scholars to halalize existing models within the sectors so that we can get Islamic version? Now, that creates the many reconsideration. Are we creating the new modernity or new moralities in itself? Hence, so we can see in the past, in the pre-convergence, that is a moral economy approach, halal is embedded in individual relations. Now, with emergence of the capitalism 20th century, now this is where we are searching the space. How each country, each approach is trying to find its own space. And then we are coming to the last quarter where re-emergence of halalness, because we need to now endorse or include in our discourse, and hence this is where we are, convergent civilization. And that's what we are even calling in this conference. We are calling for such authentic approach which will have a collective understanding for the halal. So that is where we are setting the scenario of halalness within the discourse of economic studies. Now what we want to create is the result of that in terms of sustainable development. We will not go to that. Let's go to just directly to the research itself, which was conducted based on the 150 companies in the United Kingdom across these sectors. Now, the approach which we endorse are the existing ones. So there are three ways we are looking that something is halal. Most common one, or mostly endorsed one, is the fiqh or legalistic one, where the Sharia authorities or Sharia scholars will tell you, if you don't have these characteristics, by default you are halal. And these are the factors: no pork, no alcohol, no karmi, no riba, no garar. Now, depending on the industry, this will apply. If you are financial industry, then you are looking no riba, no involvement in prohibitive areas. But if you are dealing with food and medical or pharmaceutical companies, then it's other implications. Now, the second one, which is also now much more popularized and more actually endorsed, is what they call it type. Now, I see some people already use these terms, and different way we can approach that. It could be no animal cruelty. It could be also chemical-free, no exploitation and trick action. Now, that depends on the nature of the industry as well involved. Or faith trade is something that is becoming very much endorsed within the Western context, or philanthropy-oriented, and so on and so forth. And the third one, which now the authors might use it, akhlaq. Now, akhlaq, we know what this means, morality. But actually, what we are here endorsing is a moral economy approach. Now, moral economy approach was not developed in Al-Azhar University or any Islamic university. It is unfortunately developed by Karl Polanyi. He was a British author who was writing about transformation of the British society from the pre-modern and in modern. So what are the costs, or what was lost in the process of that transformation? And that's what they are looking into, that substance, or what they call it embeddedness. That is the key term that he used in his discourse. Now, these are the elements which we can find within that proposition of defining akhlaq, but from very much Karl Polanyi, or what we call Islamic moral economy. Now, if we use this framework, now this is the methodology that we can argue about it, and I'm sure most of the agency will apply that. So ontological and epistemological sources of Islam will be the driving force from where the knowledge creation is coming. So ontology tells you how to look at, and epistemology will be the outcome of that knowledge creation. And then the whole process of filter. But where is that moral screen is plotted? That's what we are looking. Whether that moral filter, which needs to be endogenized in the process of creation or driving force of the industry, is what we are looking in this paper. So the empirics is based on this conceptual model, fiqh ethics or type, this is a mistake, and then Islamic moral ethics, or what we call it akhlaq, whether they are driving the innovation within the industry, so whether that is causing that the new companies, new settings are coming within the European context. And hence, these are the hypotheses that we are coming, methodology that we use, but let's just go to the first part. So now, halalness, in this case, we are looking into the fiqh approach, and what actually within the learning tourism, you can see that very much within the learning context. So when we are talking about books, education, cartoons, documentaries, films that are created, documentaries per se, you'll see that the content of the moralness of embeddedness itself is a driving force in that industry, and hence it implies, so it's not very much related to the very much narrow fiqh understanding of halalness. Within the tourism, we didn't find any significance. Fashion as well is very popular with that type approach, what drives that industry. And then cosmetic and fragrance, nothing. Finance at all. Finance is the most problematic part within the halal discourse, because it is purely trying to find a halal solution for an existing model of bank, financial institutions, current account, saving account. So it is a very much driven by halalization, not halalness. And hence that creates very much critical perspective on the financial industry in what they are actually offering to their customers. I know probably BBI might not be happy with this, but this is the reality. Food and drink as well, and the gifts. Now this is very popular within the charity sector in the United Kingdom, because they provide gifts, and this is very much shops where anyone, any citizen can donate their things, and now how that is driven by halal, nothing significant was also found. Now when we are going into much more detailed characteristics, within 2 minutes I'll be done. Within the fiqh and type and akhlaq moralities, then you can see now which element of fiqh approach in learning is popular. But here, in the moral and akhlaq, or what we call Islamic moral economy, family friendly. This is the content substance is very much appropriate for family, and hence that is a driving force if you want to appeal within that sector to drive the innovation. If you go into tourism, again, is the same factor that is much more emphasized. Now, fashion is very much driven by modesty, and that's the key driving factors that is emphasized what will drive innovation within that sector. And then you can see within the others, just for a matter of time, what actually is driving. Now, health and well-being, because there was very much emphasized, is very much driven by non-consumption prohibitive factors. And no, we know that the gelatin is a big problem as a substitute in the medicine, but there is still ongoing debate and acceptance within the pharmaceutical companies to endorse that. So different innovation will drive, but for some, like a health and well-being is very much driven by big corporate world, whereas the small individual scale of entrepreneurship, which we are looking to family businesses, then the context will be different and different implication will drive. Now, what is the problem in this? That none of our halal industries is not driven by an organic approach, is not driven by justice, which we emphasize. The whole moral purpose of Sharia is to bring the justice, and even the previous speaker mentioned that, but that doesn't come. If we run the questionnaire among the people who are employed by halal companies, so-called, then you will see that the payment is below average in most of the cases. And that's what triggers now the whole question of halalness. So that is the halalness in the form, but not in the substance. And hence, that triggers the issues. And finally, just to conclude, that as results, we managed to come out what are the driving forces of the industries, and that create the metrics depending of which one. Very quickly, is the ethics in food or fashion or tourism. Where is the point of the departure to where we are coming? And to conclude, because of the time factor, so tourism, finance, fashion, and main areas are grounded on Islamic norms, but mainly from the fiqh perspective, not very much from other tools which we are expecting to see to be the driving force. Also, fiqh ethics was predominantly visible in the halal food industry, and that is something that is very much nailed and mentioned. Typex is spread across into certain variation among all of them. It is very much relevant to the mainstream marketing. We have to accept that, because this is something that people will endorse, even in the Western societies. They are not driven by the theological part of the halal element. It's but very much other elements that you are bringing on the table. Fair trade, organic, it's environmentally friendly. That's what they would like to see, to have much more global momentum. And with that, I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nicola, for your presentation. Had a lot of revolutionary ideas. Agree on most of them, and inshallah, entrepreneurship in halal will be more. I'm happy to invite Ms. Ivana from Croatia to speak about halal food as a trigger in halal tourism. Welcome.
Thank you very much for the organizers. Thank you very much to our professor Mithat Yasic, because he is the one in charge that I'm here today. I have no presentations. To be honest, I hate presentations. I love more to interact with the public, unless we have some videos and other interesting materials to share. What was my topic? It is a halal food as a trigger of sustainable development of tourism in the rural areas. Thank you very much for colleagues' presentation before, because there were some common things that I share as well, that most of the companies are not triggered by sustainability, even in this case, but with the profit which is completely against of what we are talking here. The to speak about this topic was, as you know, I'm coming from Croatia. We are part, fortunately or unfortunately, we will see, of the European Union, and we have a situation that goes under the radar in this moment, that we are required to completely eliminate old seeds and to accept GMO seeds, which you all know that everything has to be of the perfect shape, everything has to be of the same shape to be in accordance with what the European Union wants. When I get back to my childhood, and I was born in 1976, I remember that the most tasteful, for example, tomatoes, was those one that were not perfect in shape, but was perfect in taste. So, being the owner of Balkan's Luxury Concierge as a travel agency, we are the only Halal certified agency, and I'm very proud of that. Also because I'm not a Muslim, I'm half Orthodox, half Christian, whatever, a big mix. But thanks to the agency for certification of Halal in Croatia, I was very much fortunate to enter this part of a great story, and I found Halal as something that we should all, if you move aside that, put aside that religious part, in fact, we should all adhere to the principles if we want to be safe, if we want to be healthy, and if we want to feel good. I will just tell you one thing that I was very fascinated about when the ladies showed me how do you pray. So before they showed me what does it mean, I just thought it was a way of praying, and in fact it's not. Back to my topic, before the pandemic, we were all testimonies of mass tourism, which, to be honest, I don't like, because it is something that is ruining our area completely, although maybe the government and the tourism board will not how can I say, be very happy about that, because even not only in Bosnia, but even in Croatia and Montenegro, they are counting numbers overnight, and in fact this is not what we want, because being for centuries under Ottomans, under Venetian Republic, under Austro-Hungarian Empire, we are fortunate from one side to have a heritage in architecture, in culture, but also in gastronomy. So if you ask me, old seed gastronomy is something that differs us from the other areas that are surrounding us, but also from the world, other world areas as tourist destination, and this should be a trigger to attract high quality travelers and tourists to our areas. Again, I will just give an example, which is here in the neighborhood. You have the only authentic Bosnian village of Lukomir that is at the height of more than 1,300 meters above the sea level, where you can experience exactly what I'm telling you. So small groups are coming there, tasting local food, tasting halal food that is completely healthy, and there I don't have any information how much from the economic point of view they are earning, but what I know that they are earning a reputation of being a very interesting place to visit. So with food they are triggering and they are making a complete product, including the history, including the storytelling, which is also very important, and you can use food in every segment to connect as a connection to all the tourist segments. So to conclude this, I was very short. I hope you managed to follow me. But before I conclude, I would like to ask you, do you have in your countries any such village or any such place that somehow provides you with an experience of your local destination through the local food that is served? No one has a village?
Yes, we have Turkey. We have one in Turkey, in Bosnia. It's all the Ottoman village, still in the traditional systematic.
Okay, thank you very much. And do you use food as a trigger to attract high-end clients?
Actually, I don't know if they have special food, but they still use the same old style cooking.
Excellent. So anyone else maybe has an example? Don't be ashamed. I know you maybe have. Just want to hear some of your examples, because why I'm asking this question? Because you know, and I told you before, that before the pandemic, that was a huge amount of travelers coming and visiting. Unfortunately, it is good to see that many people got to come not only to Bosnia, but also to other countries in our surroundings. But at the other side, this is not good for the infrastructure, this is not good for the local people. We have a situation in Croatia that the local people are moving from their old town, all the town cores, old houses, family houses, just to rent them. With the high-end tourism that can be gathered through the food, and halal food is definitely what they are looking like. I will just give you an example. 20 years ago I was living in Italy, and we went to shopping, and I see peppers, one green, one yellow, and one red in packed. And I said to my boyfriend then, let's just buy it to see what it is. It wasn't. It was a plastic pepper with some colors added. And I say, listen, when you go back home, we were still not European Union then. We will bring peppers here. So it was something that I thought that it will never come, but it has come with the opening of the centers, commercial centers, with the raises of prices. Unfortunately, the local producers are not competitive in comparison with big supermarkets. Okay, so. What was the moral of all this my presentation? That we have to find a way to, but this has to be done first on the governmental and higher levels, because there are laws that has to prescribe, let's say, maybe it's not the good point, but I hope you understand. How to protect small producers and how to organize them to become strong suppliers. For example, in tourism, of hotels, of restaurants. I'm doing a lot of cruises, small cruises in Croatia. They all need to provide a good food. So let's think about how to do that. For example, how to start with that in Bosnia, because obviously having the highest percentage of Muslim inhabitants, it can be a trigger for the entire region. How we can, in fact, start to support the small producers to produce halal food, to provide that type of food to the restaurants, to the hotels, and all others chains. And maybe if you start that, Croatia will follow, I hope so, Serbia, Montenegro, and so on. And so the moral is, let's think maybe in the next forum we will have the better opportunity to discuss them in rural areas, but the rural areas itself, and help those people to remain on their places where they have lived for years, and at the same time enable them to establish some higher levels of production of good food. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank you, the committee of this congress, especially Dr. Hamid, Dr. Jamid, Professor Dr. Mithat, and my partner Dr. Namid. And I would like to thank you, my boss, Dr. Vinay, to give me an opportunity and always support. Today, I would like to share with you about my work. I will talk about the technique that I will develop in our university. The topic is application of multiplex PCR coupled with DNA stick for detecting 5 non-halal animals in food products. If we talk about the halal testing in Thailand, we will focus on 4 parameters. Okay, wait a minute. Next. Okay. If we talk about halal testing in Thailand, we focus on 4 parameters, including phosphate DNA, phosphate fatty acid, phosphate and ethanol. We just published the technique in Journal of Food Protection. If you want to know more, you can download this journal. But today I will focus on DNA-based technique. In our university, we developed the real-time PCR for detecting phosphate DNA. This technique provides high specificity, high sensitivity, but I think detecting only one target may not be enough, because nowadays we found adulteration from other non-halal animals in food products. We have a reported from other countries. We found cat contamination in beef products that found in China. We found we found monkey meat in soup product, and we also found rat meat in Indonesia in the food from Indonesia. We need to develop the method that can detect and to protect the Muslim consumer and general consumer who want to eat food according to the label. DNA-based method provide high specificity, high sensitivity, and they have a highly accurate, such as they have a high heat resistance. We can detect in raw meat and cooked meat, and we have method that use the DNA such as PCR, real-time PCR, and droplet PCR, but no on-site DNA-based method available in Thailand. Our innovation, we developed the technique that use DNA-based method coupled two techniques together. The one technique is multiplex PCR, another one is DNA stick in one innovation for detecting 5 non-halal animals in the same reaction, including pig, dog, cat, rat, and monkey in the same reaction. This technique just published in the food control. If you want to know more this technique, you can read it. And now we transfer the technique to commercialize by using this technique. If you want to use the technique, you can use this reaction. In this box, we have a stick test, we have a master mix, we have a DNA buffer to attack the food products. And we just got award from Malaysia last week. We just got gold medal award from this innovation. PCR. Multiplex PCR is a microbiology technique that can detect multiple targets in one reaction. In this innovation, we developed the primer, specific primer for each species, and we optimize in the same reaction. And we also use the stick test that came from the nitrocellulose membrane with the tag and complementary tag from the primer. When the reaction occurs together, they will form the red band on the stick test. This is also the equipment that we use for on-site detection. Only this block we need the PCR because this technique is DNA-based. We need to use the PCR to amplify the PCR products. We have 3 steps on this technique. The first one start with the DNA extraction. It takes about 20 minutes. After we got the pure DNA, we use the multiplex PCR with the mini PCR to amplify PCR product. After that, we use the stick test to detect the contamination. If they contaminate with 5 non-alignment, they will show the red band on the stick test. It takes about, for whole process, it takes about 90 minutes. It's reduce the cost when they compare with the laboratory testing. I have a video, but I think that cannot open because I saved this file with the PDF file. Sorry for this mistake. About the detail about the technique. If you want to use this technique, you need to invest with the mini PCR. It's about 200 USD, and price for sample for the stick test is 15 USD, and analysis time is 90 minutes. And sample volume, we can use only 10 mg for the food product. And for the appetite for using is basic scientific base and shelf life 2 years at the temperature. Moreover, we also developed the technique that use the same principle with this technique. We try to develop the technique for meat authentication. Sometimes after meat, if some consumer they need to eat meat according to the level, but sometimes we found adulterated cheaper meat in the higher meat. We also developed the technique for detect the plant-based detection because plant-based is product that come from the plant. Sometimes they can replace the plant-based with the insect-based. And insect-based is not halal for Muslim in some countries. Okay, for the summary, this is innovative tool that can ensure halal food product and consumer that there was no halal animal contamination in raw material and food product. This tool can be employed at crucial steps to support halal certification and could apply for on-site detection. To the best knowledge is the first study of successful development of technique on simultaneous detection of final halal content in halal food products. Okay, if you have any question, please feel free to ask me. Thank you. Okay, for the next speaker, from Italy, Dr. Roberta Di Stefano. They will talk about food safety and wholesomeness in halal certified products. Please welcome.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
before
sure.
you start, because it's related to your subject. Now, the issue of testing became, as a PCR technology, became very common and very, it is innovative, for sure. And we are testing for species. Species.
Yes.
Whether you are doing with pork, whether you are doing with dogs, cats, and mice, and so on. The issue today is the adulteration comes from the non-halal.
Yeah.
So you have meat, which is beef, but it is not slaughtered Islamically. Okay? You have sheep meat, which is sheep is a halal species, but it is not slaughtered Islamically. And then you have, on the other hand, the issue of stunning that is rejected by many scholars. For example, the gas stunning of poultry is rejected. Water bath stunning, in so many cases, I'm one of them, I reject this because of doubtfulness. Now, what technology, this is for you, doctor, as well, okay, because you are the father of this. What technology that we can have to detect this adulteration?
Okay. In my opinion, now say we cannot detect the sabiha from the food product, but in previous research we use the LCMS to check the cortisol hormone that make to the stress hormone from the slaughter. If they have a high cortisol, it means they have a stress before they slaughter. It mean maybe they not slaughter by Islamic regulation. Yes, but Dr. Vinay will have you more information about this because okay.
For the technique of slaughter or stunning, in order to prove by using the laboratories.
Dr.
Give
Vinay,
me
we have a bit noise, maybe if you can
Yes,
use the mic, please.
I may say that the laboratory detection cannot answer all questions. Yeah, but I may say that for the science and technology, it not cover only laboratory assessment. When we discuss about the science and technology, we have to discuss also the standard, the standardization technique, and also the manufacturing process. Then we have to do all for halal, not only laboratory. And then the laboratory is just a mean for detecting some kind of that Dr. Anand mentioned. For example, the species, the differentiate of the species of the haram animal. You see. Then if we use science and technology, don't try to think that the laboratory assessment can answer all the questions. Cannot. When you slaughter animal, you say Bismillah or not Bismillah. Can biochemical assessment detect? Cannot. Then we have to use other means of the science and technology. The whole line of the manufacturing process, we can use every step with the science and technology. And even the standard, drafting of the standard. You see, then I may say that science and technology can answer all, but not the laboratory assessment. That's different.
Comment? I totally agree with you, Prof, on this point. But when you go to, even if you go to the standards themselves, again, this is a debatable issue. We have standards that we adopted, which use parameters, but the parameters themselves, they are not tested. I'll give you an example. You have the MS 1500, you have your standard, you have the SMIIC standard, you have all of the standards that using parameters, and these parameters is copy and paste from the Malaysian, the MS 1500 2004. It's copy and paste. That these parameters, which I'm talking the electric stunning, or whether it is for the cows, for the poultry, for the rabbits, for whatever is a table. When I talked to Jackie about it, how did you come to this? When I talked to the DBS in Malaysia, how did you come to these parameters so that it's copy and pasted in so many standards? There is no one paper that is published to say that 400 amps of electrical amperage that can be safe for not killing chicken. Okay, because chicken come to the slaughterhouse and they are tired, or you have different sizes of chicken because the resistance will be different for each one. So it may cause mortalities in the beast. So standard is a problem.
For the scientific view, you can debate in every step. Yeah, it means that finally you have to find a conclusion. And for the scientific, for example, to detect some kind of a substance in the laboratory, that may maybe have 100 techniques. Finally, you have to equilibrate the technique first. Then we need more and more involvement of the science, technology, or even the scientists. We need Muslim scientists to get involved in this field. This is I try so hard.
This is very true. I agree with you. There are not many Muslim scientists coming into this field, and we need to encourage them.
We have to convince them.
Can I have a comment, Doctor?
Yeah.
Just 1 minute. Because I'm responsible for porcine detection group in SMIIC, just to correct the information of the doctor. We have 2 articles about how to detect dhabiha from non-dhabiha. One of them published in our conference 2018 by Professor Sayyid Ghulam Musharraf from Pakistan, another one from Iran. I forget the name of the author. Both of them depend on the proteomic methods, but it's very expensive to detect dhabiha from dhabiha in the laboratory. This is why we have a system in SMIIC, halal quality built in rather than tested for. We build the quality inside the system. We don't test for this one. Regarding your question about stunning studies, according to my information, there is 2 latest studies. One from Saudi Arabia, which mentioned in the Fiqh Academy last year, and another one from Malaysia, still going in process. You can come to our website, SMIIC website. We announced about this study. They're still collecting the data from different countries. We have some scientists, they are working hard, and we hope to collect more people working with SMIIC inshallah in these issues. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. In our laboratory, we don't go directly to the lab first, because it is the most expensive. We start from the literature review and so on, even discuss with the involved person. Until finally we still have some doubt, then we go to the laboratory. In order to increase the competitiveness of the halal, there's still many factors that we have to discuss. I think Dr. Anand tried to give some good example for the strip test in order to reduce the cost. This is it just got the award from Malaysia last week.
You deserve it.
Dear brothers and sisters, dear organizing committee, dear brothers or sisters of the agency of halal certification in Bosnia, Barakallahu fikum, thank you so much for this invitation and for your efforts, really unbelievable, of organizing such a meeting of such a level. Really, thank you so much. Just you heard, I think, more than 20 several and interesting speeches. I will be brief. I want to share a wonderful walk we had yesterday night together with I'm so touched to visit your country for my first time as a model of Islamic civilization in Europe, as a, let me say, also linked to my speech, a protected geographical Muslim minority and local community with so many teachings to share with us. Thank you so much again. I just want to share some little reflection. We are commanded to feed on good things, but and this commandment implies the effort of every believer to feed according to the model of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But what does it mean? For sure, we cannot trace back this model to just few analytical parameters. However, we have the opportunity through the modern halal certification schemes or international standards, which requires halal certification body to adopt parameters to define what can be considered a healthy and pure food. And at the same time, we have some references in our directly in our region and directly in these certification schemes. What must not contain in food products such as dirt, glass, soil, or intoxicants or impurities or such. So, what are some of the tools and the challenge to ensure the quality of food, halal food product in the modern food industry, especially, if I may say, in our European countries? As far as food safety is concerned, there are well-established tools such as the reference to ISO 22000 or to HACCP protocol, which have long been integrated into the international halal certification standards to guarantee the hygiene and health requirements. But in the lens of a halal certification body, as Halal Italia, we also takes into account the guidelines from European Food Safety Authority, EFSA, on additives, pesticides, contaminants, hazardous to health. Moreover, some parameters expressed by the organic certification in use in Europe are considered too. There are, however, specific problems with halal certification regarding food quality and wholesomeness and taste experience, as I think Sister Ivana mentioned before, that maybe no standard can solve. While, especially in a territory, in a country as Italia, where every little town has its own specific recipe with different time of cooking, with the specific product of the land. On one hand, the high quality standards of the Italian food industry are an added value, but on the other hand, in some cases, our halal requirements clash with certain fixed rules of food composition of ingredients and production processes established by food technology. Some recurring difficulties we face as halal certification bodies with Italian companies concern the substitution, as Professor Vinay teach us yesterday, substitution of haram ingredients or raw material with halal ingredients or raw materials that guarantee the same organoleptic experience and performance and quality of origin of the finished product. Just two examples. Some leavening agents, such as tartaric agent or cream of tartar, widely used especially in confectionery industry in Italy, are haram because they are derived from the wine industry. But their synthetically derived version, which can therefore be considered halal, is not really a valid alternative. And this is because it lowers the organoleptic experience of consumers, so halal, traditional artisanal halal biscuit of the higher quality in Italy, it would be transformed in a poor quality product. So this is one example of first clash. Another case, you know, we have some protected geographical indication food product with specific standards. For example, we have a dry beef called bresaola, maybe some of you know, and with a specific standard to protect the local origin of the product. And in the standard is mentioned that the casing must be natural, animal origin. But, unfortunately, a casing in the halal version with animal origin that meets this high quality requirement is hardly available on the market. And the casing, the synthetic casing, in this case, versus the animal origin casing, it's really, it gives really a different taste experience to the consumers. Other difficulties relate to the acceptance of certain additives, which are not basically critical in themselves for halal compliance, but their use in specific situations may not be healthy. So it's therefore necessary, we think, that each specific case must be considered, and the whole composition of the products, not just the sum of the single different ingredients. Two examples again: some soft drinks have a mix of additives that could be individually considered halal, but a high presence of concentrations of them in the finished product would make the same product unhealthy. Or another example, some dyes, colorant, used again in the confectionery industry, especially candies product, may be considered halal at first, but according to the European legislation, the label of such products must inform that their widespread use can be harmful to children's health. An example is E102 tartrazine. So, we don't have to face only critical challenges, but in these cases the solution are three. Some Italian companies decide to invest in research and development by finding suitable alternative raw material or ingredients or inventing new recipes, thus obtaining the halal certification for a high quality Italian product. But other companies made a different decision and had to cope with the high cost, for example, of these chains, and they renounced to go further in halal certification. And the third unlucky case is a project where is Halal Italia that directly stopped the certification process because the bases are not 100% compatible with our international standards and Italian standards. So I was very inspired by several of your speeches and teachings. Alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful about. But just to clear, maybe the brother from Scotland speak about thick tie but lack approach, and even brother Mahmoud teach about how important is integrity in our job. Just to clarify, it's not our intention to promote a philosophy of food puritanism or an Islamic Calvinism. I heard an Islamic Calvinism is interesting, aiming at restoring a primordial quality of food or even people, because we have to face, I think, the problem is not just in our halal ecosystem of corruption, bribery, poor moral values. The problem is in these modern times also outside the halal ecosystem. So if we want that halal could be an ecosystem, we have to be the first brothers and sisters of our religious community. So, we wish.
Assalamu alaikum, nice greetings to all. It's a pleasure to be here with you. With my colleagues, I did research on topic microbiological status of Qurbani sheep carcasses after home slaughter. My name is Neida Kubat-Ashalic. I'm a doctor of veterinary medicine and I'm intern at the Laboratory of Veterinary Faculty, University of Sarajevo. As we knew, Eid al-Adha is one of the two major holidays in Islam, and Muslims sacrifice the animal such as sheep, cow, or camel in the name of Allah. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the slaughtering organized in two ways. It can be done in registered slaughterhouses or as private slaughterers in their households, without veterinary supervision. It can be dangerous for children, ill people, or pregnant women. In European Union, they have strict laws and controls. Such method in European Union is not legal. They have the licensed Muslim slaughterman or veterinary supervision. Observing home slaughter in our country, we relieved that many common the preventive measures are not followed, such as the cleaning knives or disinfections saved. So we want to determine the level of bacterial contamination. The sample was collected in Visoko, the city in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we analyze samples at laboratory of the hygiene and the technology department at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, University of Sarajevo. The 30 samples from sheep carcasses are collected. Swabbing area, the neck muscle, think or tongue muscles. The samples was analyzed for presence of 6 bacteria: Salmonella, Listeria, E. coli, Enterobacteriaceae, aerobic mesophilic bacteria, and Staphylococcus, according to the ISO standard methods. As you can see, the specific agar we use to grow the specific bacteria. We compared our results with the current legislative posed by the Commission regulation. On this slide, you can see permitted values of bacteria. We detected the presence 5 out of the 6 types of bacteria we tested for. Salmonella SPP was not detected in any of samples. Enterobacteria and aerobic mesophilic bacteria was within the legally allowed limits. The detection of Listeria and Staphylococcus and E. coli points to the need for more detailed testing to carcasses after home slaughter. Conformational testing didn't reveal the presence of Listeria monocytogenes or Staphylococcus aureus. This is a chart with the total results. All the examined carcasses were in accordance with the maximal allowed values set by the Food Safety Agency of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The detected number of aerobic mesophilic bacteria and enterobacteria indicating the need for better hygienic practice. Staphylococcus spp as well as Listeria were found in every on our 30 samples, while 29 samples tested positive for E. coli. These bacteria can pose a significant
significant risk to human health, but the current legislation does not require the testing for the presence in carcass during slaughter. And for the end conclusion, the foodborne illness related to Qurbani meat are relatively rare. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, meat, especially Qurbani meat, is traditionally cooked for a long time at lower temperatures. We need better education of people doing the slaughter. And the key to the survival of this type of slaughter is the education of those who are doing it on the subjects of food safety, cross-contamination, and proper hygienic practice. Thank you for your attention.
The next topic is the influence of the halal concept on the biological status of halal products. Our assistant Leah from Veterinary Faculty, University of Sydney.
Hello. We are in no rush, I think, to wait for my presentation. These. I think I can introduce myself without the presentation. My name is Neira Fazlovic. I'm a teaching assistant at the Veterinary University of Sarajevo. I also work in a laboratory for food safety at that laboratory, at that faculty. And I'm here to present our paper, which is about the topic of halal standard and its influence on food safety and microbiology. Okay. So, full screen if you could. If you can't, this is good. Yes, thank you. The title of our paper is Influence of Halal Concept on Microbiological Properties of Meat and Meat Products. This is the slide that I've already said. So we all know what halal food is. Obviously, so it's prohibited or legal food. What most people, especially people who are not that into Islam, don't know is the concept of tayyib, which is that halal food must be correct or must be healthy, which is a bit more of a broader concept, which the colleague from Scotland also mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. So halal food is one of the foods, or one of the types of food that is in the most grown in the whole entire world, because the population of Muslim people around the world is growing, but also there's there's also a need for halal food from non-Muslim people who are realizing that halal food means healthy, means food that has been corrected, that has been inspected. So among halal food, we also need to talk about halal meat, which is the type of food which has most criteria related to it. So we're talking about halal meat, which is obtained in the slaughterhouse of halal animals and processed with accordance to Islamic laws. And also, when we talk about halal, we should also mention the concept of hasab, which is the other major food safety concept that we're talking about. So critical control points in production of halal meat are almost all in importance or in order to improve the quality and safety of food, which is also related to the concept of halal. The goals of our research was very simple. We wanted to inspect and we wanted to examine the microbiological integrity of meat and meat products in two objects or in two faculties, one with halal and has a concept implemented and one without, and determine if there's a connection between halal food criteria, halal certification, and halal concept and hasab concept. So our materials were collected in, as I said, two different objects. One with accordance to halal, hasab, and ISO standards, and one in a process plant without it. In total, we collected about 600 samples, 300 from each of the production lines, including different types of meat, including raw meat, including minced meat, including sausages, smoked products, and drawn and fermented sausages, to 50 of each and 100 per category. When it comes to the methods, we also did the testing in the same laboratory as my colleague Mira in our laboratory in Sarajevo with veterinary faculty in accordance to ISO standards, and we tested for almost the same bacteria, which was Listeria monocytogenes, Salmonella, E. coli, Staphylococcus aureus, Enterobacteria, Clostridium, and total viable count. When it comes to results, you can see them on this slide, but it's I have to admit a bit yes. But you can also see them in the published papers. So I'm just gonna say the highlights of our research. Salmonella and Clostridium were not detected in any of the samples in both plants. However, facility A has proven to be, which is the facility with Halal, HACCP, and ISO standards, has proven to be a bit more, a lot better for the health of the food. We had significantly better microbiological status of final product. We have not detected a single Listeria in any of the products, but Listeria was detected in the products from the category B. And the number of aerobic mesophilic bacteria was generally lower compared to the facilities B. The most bacteria were also found in expected raw and minced meat, while other products had fewer bacteria, which was of course expected. And for the end, we're just going to have to talk about the conclusion, which is, I have to say, a bit expected, with products that come from objects with Halal and HACCP concept. We have found a lot better microbiological status of all the products, and which is of course something to be expected, as both of those products together work on containing or creating better and safer food for all of us, and that is something that we all need to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to greet and present. The topic of this scientific work is microbiological correctness of fish with reference to Listeria monocytogenes in the context of importance to halal production. Listeria monocytogenes is a ubiquitous bacterium in nature, so the mode of transmission is quite broad. The relationship between this bacterium, environment, animals, humans, and food is not entirely clear, but the fact that it is transmitted through the food and can be dangerous for human and animals' health position it as a priority in the field of food safety. This is also stated in the reports of Food and Drug Administration, the American Department of Agriculture, and others. In a public health context, Listeria monocytogenes causes disease listeriosis. Clinically, we differentiate between invasive and non-invasive form. Invasive listeriosis is characterized by a high degree of mortality, while non-invasive listeriosis is dominated by febrile listeriosis, gastroenteritis. It is necessary to pay attention to cross-contamination as one of the basic ways to contamination of final products in production chains. The term halal in Islam represents everything is permitted, and haram is opposite, everything is forbidden. When we say that something is forbidden in haram, we can also say that it is unhealthy for the human body. Halal standards dictate that food must meet all regulations on health, hygiene, and sanitary correctness, that does not contain ingredients that Muslims are forbidden to consume. Also, halal food must not contain pathogenic microorganisms. The research included 320 samples of edible rainbow trout on Corinthus micis. Seasonal sampling was carried out in such a way that in the spring-summer season, 80 samples of edible rainbow trout were sampled in facilities A with halal and B without halal. The same sampling procedure of 80 samples of edible rainbow trout was repeated in both facilities A and B in autumn-winter, as you can see at table 1. For the preparation samples, we used ISO standards, and for isolation and detection, Listeria monocytogenes, we used a horizontal method for detection and counting Listeria monocytogenes part 1. The results of research of presence L. monocytogenes in samples of edible rainbow trout in facility A and B are presented in tables 2 and 3 and graphs 1 to 4. The aim of the research is to examine the prevalence and seasonality L. monocytogenes in rainbow trout in order to confirm the halal quality of the product. In a facility with implemented HACCP and halal standards, positive samples of rainbow trout for L. monocytogenes were recorded only in the spring-summer season at the slaughter and evisceration line at 10%. Of the total number of rainbow trout samples in establishments with implemented halal facility A, positive samples for the presence of L. monocytogenes were recorded only in the spring-summer season, 2.5%, and at the autumn-winter period or season, there is no positive results. In a facility that does not comply with halal standards, the highest number of positive samples of L. monocytogenes was recorded in both seasons on slaughter and evisceration lines. The largest number of positive samples was recorded in the spring-summer season, 15%, and slightly less in the autumn-winter. In the case of samples taken at facility B, the total number of positive samples was recorded in spring-summer season at 6.25% and almost half as much in the fall-winter season, 3.75%. By comparing the detection results of L. monocytogenes in sample of rainbow trout from facility with halal and HACCP standards in the spring-summer and autumn-winter period, it's evident that in the spring-summer period, the percentage of positive results is 10%, while in the same facility, no L. monocytogenes was detected in autumn-winter period, as you can see in at graph 1. Graph 2 shows the comparison of detection results of L. monocytogenes in rainbow trout samples from facility without halal and HACCP standards in the spring, summer and autumn-winter periods. The total percentage of positive samples from the spring-summer periods was higher compared to percentage of positive samples from the same facility from the autumn-winter period, which may suggest that increased surveillance is needed in the summer period. A comparison of results of presence L. monocytogenes in rainbow trout from the spring-summer period shows that the facility without established halal standards has a higher percentage of positive samples compared with the facility with halal standards, where only 10% was positive. In graph 4, compare the results of rainbow trout samples from establishments with and without implemented halal standards in the fall-winter season, although positive results are evident in the facility without implemented standards at 3 sampling sites: slaughter and evisceration line, frozen fish, and fish from cache ready for transport, compared to the facility with implemented halal standards where L. monocytogenes was not detected. Conclusion. First, the research confirmed the presence of L. monocytogenes monocytogenesis in samples of rainbow trout Oncorhynchus micis from ponds and processing facilities, which indicates the possibility of contamination of the final products. Second, positive samples at the slaughter and evisceration line indicate the obligation of constant supervision and implementation of hygienic and sanitary measures in accordance with Halal and HACCP standards. And third, fish contaminated with pathogens such as L. monocytogenes is not allowed for human consumption due to its harmfulness to human health, and therefore such fish does not meet the criteria of a halal product. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for presentations. Now we'll do the share of the certificates. You have a question? Sorry.
Question before.
Or there you go.
Yes. The question is that one of the comments that you commented that the limitation of microbiological cross-contamination in relation to the halal. Okay. Is that from Sharia concept or based or the hygienic or requirements or what? Because the previous speaker talked about Qurbani, which is contaminated, but it is halal. So what is the limitation of the contamination that considered is not halal?
In our country, we have standards, microbiological standards that we use for this, and in that case, we have higher and lower numbers, yes, and when we get the results, we can how to say yes, define it's correct or it's not correct. Okay. If our numbers are higher than the higher number, it's a positive, and if they are lower, they are okay.
So is that part of the country regulations to accept or to reject? Okay, or it is related to the halalness of the meat. So if you have a slaughterhouse running a slaughterhouse, of course it's under the veterinary department inspections, and then that production batch perhaps it is contaminated with salmonella or any of listeria or any microbial agent. Then that batch is rejected because of that of that level. Okay, but my particular question is about the halalness of it. Do you reject it because of halal or of non-conformity to the halal, or you reject it because of the non-conformity of the hygiene and health standard of the country?
Maybe I can
yes.
Sorry, I want to shortly inform you. Our registration are very close with European legislation, very close. And we must, after aggression and after Dayton Peace Agreement, our legislation must be harmonized with European. And it's a level for us because this legislation is in high level for our protected health. And what does that mean? we investigated samples, different meat and different meat production, it does that mean if we detect this microbiological species, which is contained in this legislation, it does that mean this microbiological level in these samples is okay and it's healthy, it's safety, and it's halal.
Okay, maybe I can answer for this question.
Okay, one more question to you. One more question to you. Then, if that is the situation, and you are following the European regulations, okay, so you are condemning any meat that is above the level of tolerance. Is that's the case?
Yes.
Okay. That's the case? Now, what is the future of Qurbani that is slaughtered in the houses? Is that going to be banned in the future? Because she proved that there is a high level of contamination.
This problem you must understand in European countries, in European level, the slaughtering small animals is not free in the domestic. It must be only in slaughterhouse. Yes. But Bosnia and Herzegovina and also Croatia and Montenegro and Macedonia, they are now in transition period, and our government and our Ministry for Agriculture must include a specific situation, because we are multi-ethnic countries and we must organize slaughtering and the others methods which is very close with Muslim population. And it's a reason why we must always consult it and work European level.
Microorganism is too high. It's not for human consumption, and basically it's not halal. And all our legislations, like the professor said, we must comply with the European Union. For our exporters, they can export to European Union, and if if it has some non-conformities, they can go to the European these products. Sorry, Professor, you can add something.
Because of the time, just 1 minute. I think it's a time to discuss what is halal. And halal, we should take it as a broader meaning. Halal is not only killing of the sheep. That's one aspect of the halal. That's one aspect of the halal. And we should satisfy as a procedure, say, okay, this kill or slaughter as a halal way. But the later process of hygiene, it should be considered part of the halal process. Because the hadith says, La darara wa la dirar. No harm and no damage. So when we say halal is the whole process, it's not only one aspect of killing. And now the time is to broaden what is halal and what's haram. So according to the fiqh, it's not only limited to the killing, but anything damage to the human being, whether microbiologically or toxic or that, this should be all considered haram. So halal is big umbrella. And thank you. I think what we're doing is a standard. European standard is close to the halal, and we should aim to that one.
Thank you. One more.
In our SMIIC standard, halal, the safety of the food is considered as part of the halal. So non-safe food is not halal. This is mentioned in our standard. This is why we put it as critical point for these things. In SMIIC, for example, the meat, Codex meat 58 standard is regulatory, has normative reference for SMIIC meat in SMIIC 1. The level of the additives, the maximum level of the additives by Codex is halal critical point in experience in different countries. We have the Turkish experience, the Indonesian experience, and the Malaysian experience. They are different than other, but Bosnia can learn from this previous experience how to control and legalize the Qurbani system in the country. Hope this one will help you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will share of the certificates. I will invite Damir to do this. First of them is Professor Anat. Please take a picture.
Professor Anat, please come. Thank you very much.
Next one is Hamid Roberto. Next one is Neira.
Thank you.
Also don't forget.
Algan, okay. First, it's one of the authors, Barry. And the speaker, Negra.
Speaker.
And our last speaker, Adnan Alek. That is for the presentations. Now I will invite for the group photo.
Kolegice u sredini. Kolegice u sredini, da, može. Nemojte vi s kraja, molim vas. To su priserne.
And now I invite, we have a few minutes more to conclude and to close our congress. And before that, I would like to thank you to all, and we are really honored and very grateful to all speakers, and very grateful to all authors of the papers and abstracts and the presentation and poster presentation you can see on the windows. Before, just one sentence and one permission I'm asking from you. I would like to ask from you that your permission to put your presentation in PDF form in our web page. If it is okay, then we will put on our web page, but of course in PDF form. Okay, then you can found all presentations from today and yesterday in our web page on congress.halal.ba. We talk about conclusions and we talk about resolutions. So we took conclusions from this presentation and from posters and from other initiatives to put in our resolutions. So we have, as I see, 20 resolutions here. So it is not. It will take a time to read it, all of them. Actually, 20 years, and it will take time to read all of them. But this is only draft resolutions, and we will put on our web page, congress.halal.ba, and it will be open to add or to add some comments on the resolutions, on those draft resolutions. So next year, inshallah, I hope so that we will, when we organize the second congress, we will make not revision, but we will make grade what we done according
according to those resolutions what we already wrote. So I can read it, all of them. So let me just sometimes to read it. Resolution 1, improvement and establishment of new curricula in informal education for auditors and advisors in halal quality certification. Is it okay? I don't see, don't hear any. Okay. Second one is accreditation of course and lecturers' competence and methods in accreditation. Very nice, right? To achieve a holistic approach to certification which, in addition to monitoring technological lines, also include the certification of entire companies, which also means monitoring economical and financial flows. Okay? Yes. Thank you. Just to need confirmation, is it okay or not? But yes, later we will have it as a revision. Fourth one is work to standardize certification criteria on global level. Yes. Okay. Develop guidance and recommendation of halal certification from healthcare institutions. Sixth, established guidelines for halal food industry dietetic according to halalopathy. Very nice initiative. Seventh, develop a unique approach to halal certification which will embed moral and ethical principles in the terms of substance, not only the four by considering wider perspective of maqasid al-sharia, objective of Islamic law, maqasid al-sharia, I don't pronounce very well, in terms of implementing axiom of Islam. Tawheed, vertical and horizontal justice. Adala means justice. Brotherhood. Taikiza, right? Tezkiya, I know, but purification and growth, among others, right? Is okay? Eighth, for gaining the international recognition, integrating the halal standards and is necessary into international law. It is 9. It is necessary to accept ISO standard in analyzing haram elements. Okay, you already seen standards, some of them, but ISO is okay for me. The global halal strategy should be introduced and managed in a global joint manner by Muslim institutions, organizations, and companies of the public, private, and third sectors. The goal is to become a global Muslim community of excellence, providing continuous added values to society. This increases confidence in the halal tayyib concept, the halal compliance sector, the halal ecosystem, and the confidence in the GMC, global Muslim community. Okay? Global Corruption Index System GCSI should be established. Halal is a trust, and integrity is the way to convey that to the general public. Corruption is haram and will be eradicated from the halal compliance sector. I know this initiative is come from. Okay. Very nice. So I'm on 13, right? 11. Oh, yes. Okay, sorry. Halal leadership centers of excellence should be established globally, as a leadership is critical to the success of the global halal strategy. 12. A global corruption index system GSS should be established. Halal is a trust, and integrity is the way to convey that to the global public. Corruption is haram and will be eradicated from the halal compliance sector. I already told that. 13. A permanent global forum on halal integrity should be established to provide initiatives related to public and private sector groups, science, business, industry, compliance sector, consumer protection, government, etc. 14. Global Halal Watch should be established to monitor transparency and fraud. 15. It is recommended to invest additional efforts in the development of halal normative culture. 16. As a growing field in halal industry, halal pharmaceutical need a focused planned halal pharmaceutical drug information and patient counseling training for pharmacists, doctors, and the other healthcare providers. 17. If there is no demand for halal pharmaceutical because of the lack of awareness, we need to create the demand. Halal pharmacopoeia and other halal pharmaceutical tertiary drug information research can play an important role in creating the demand. Standards are the language of modern industry. The OIC SMIIC standards cover both technical and halal-related issue and can be the base for Muslim countries. It is necessary to make an agreement under the OIC on mutual recognition arrangement (MRA) and multilateral agreement (MLA) of accreditation and certification as soon as possible. And 20. Diplomatic and scientific activity is suggested for realizing this idea by all Congress and OIC participants according to international practices. So this is 20 resolutions we already prepared. They are in draft, so we can revise them in next period. And I call you all of you in next few days. We will put it on our website and call of you to give your additional suggestions. Thank you to all. I am really honored to thanks to all participants and to all authors, especially from abroad, who came here and to give support to this Congress. And I hope, inshallah, next year we will see in maybe the same period. And especially I am glad to mention that I saw there is a lot of young people that they are included in researching of halal topics and others. Of course, I'm really glad for experience. We need experience, but of course we need young people to be included in halal. Thank you to all who are working. Yes, picture. To all of us. Yes, sorry.